Hello YouTube world, this is Teri Joyedian. It's been a while. I have a goal now, an image of being a little bit more regular. Starting now, I'm looking at the 1 p.m.-ish time slot for videos and vlogs that I do in general. I'm going to try it out. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is my goal. So here it is a little bit after 1 o'clock today. And today's topic, are you a big picture consumer, was inspired by a conversation I had with someone I work with. He is I don't know if you'd call him a small business owner or a medium business owner. He's a CEO of a company that distributes, and he works through platforms like Walmart and Amazon. He's very passionate about this topic because it's his life. He's talked about it a few times, and I thought, I'm really in the mode now where I appreciate talking about things and working things out, but I'd like there to be some action behind it. So my action is to share it out with you, and I asked him for solutions, suggestions along the way of our discussion, just so we could have something we could look at, something we could work on. I'd like to start by sharing a little bit of what we talked about today. A lot of the conversation centered around Amazon today. And he explained that 2 years ago, Amazon opened itself up to globalization, global sellers. Amazon now has, he calls it 3 categories: global sellers, local sellers, and fake local sellers. What does that mean? That means local sellers are people who have their business actually located here in the United States. They employ people here in the United States. They may have warehouses here. There's a lot happening in the United States. A fake local seller is someone who is a local seller in name. They work with someone who lives here to have the basically the address of here, but technically they're still based overseas. And then the third category is overseas, where they are doing business, but a lot of the infrastructure is overseas. The people are hired there if they have employees. The warehouses are overseas. The distribution happens through overseas. And everything I'm sharing today is rudimentary, so please check out things on your own as well. I'm basing this off of his personal experience, so again, please feel free to do your own checks. But he's explaining what is happening with purchasing online through Amazon now that it's open to global sellers. And his biggest concern is with the overseas selling, just because he says it's such a huge percentage of the population. And he focused on Amazon because Amazon is so huge, and I believe he said Amazon is the company that's open to overseas because they have their own control over the warehouses. Sorry, that's the best I can explain that there. And he said basically Amazon makes a commission off of quantity, and also I think a little bit percentage. So they're mostly interested in products being sold. They don't care where they come from. They don't care so much how much the products cost. They just want to see a lot of products moving through the site because that is how money is made. So what's happening with the overseas is they're sometimes a one-man company, and often they're from China, and the regulations, morals, laws are different in China than they are here. And there's also much more of a challenge to enforcing the regulations that we have in place for the United States when it's happening over in China. What he explained is if something happens with his company that's based locally and they shut down his company because he lied about something from the IRS or whatever. He may go to jail if he tries to reopen the company, if he tries to get around it, and the police will be at his door, is what he said. But if something happens and they shut down the company in China for not following the regulations, it's very easy for the same company to pop up under a new name. You can't have the police go to their door. You can't really follow up with whatever laws they broke. There's not a consistency between what is being enforced here then and what is being enforced overseas. So what ultimately is happening, particularly with these Chinese companies, is they are undercutting the prices of the products. And it's not just because they have cheap labor over there, which they do, but there's actually their own version of gambling happening in China with the stock market. It's nothing like our stock market, is what he explained. And it's all a big gamble, just like you go into a casino, and ultimately, if we're being honest with ourselves, a lot of the time we're losing whatever money we put into the casino. It's like that in China more than the stock market that we have here. There are these gambles being taken, the regulation again is not there, and people are willing to take these risks and pay into these companies, and that's how these companies are making the money, not through any gross profit, because they're selling these products at so low, they're not really able to make any profit. But if they can sell enough products at whatever price and become a legitimate company through America, they go on this list or something, then that makes it more appealing to these people interested in playing the stock market and more likely that they'll invest. So that's ultimately what happens. And what do we care about that? Like they're doing their own thing over there, whatever. We're getting the cheap products. How does that affect us besides that we get less expensive products? Sounds great, right? I'm like, well, how does that affect the consumer? Well, big picture is ultimately it's not great for the United States economy, which does affect us on some level, whether it affects our jobs directly or it affects unemployment rate and us as a whole needing to support the unemployed. Because the overseas company and the local companies are not using our distribution centers like FedEx and UPS, so those jobs are not being taken by those companies. They're not employing people here, so that's less jobs over here. They're not using our warehouses, so again, less jobs here, less infrastructure here. And so there's less cycling through the United States, less consumer spending money, less that's able to be poured back into the United States, it's being poured into China, which I may not be able to say this is directly affecting you in this way, but ultimately it's all connected there. And I mean, you could look at it as great. We're supporting China and other countries. That's great. They're just putting it out there how it's going to affect things. And then also, there are two dangers with supporting this sort of system that allows these products to be sold for super cheap. Number one, the quality is ultimately not going to be as high because these are companies that are popping up, copying off of other companies and hoping to make money quickly through the stock market. They're not so much interested in the product as making money. So they're not going to be putting the money into quality control. They're not going to be putting money into customer service. They might not even have customer service. So quality is going down. And two, when the prices are that low, the local companies who are paying income taxes, who are paying workers, who are paying for the warehouses, he was explaining all the different percentages, and I think he said GDP. I don't know, he was giving me all these different stats, and it's too expensive for the local company to be successful, especially if they're hoping to make a net. You can see I'm struggling here at the overall concept. They're struggling to make a profit, whereas these other companies don't care because they're gonna make their money through their own thing, their own game they've got going over here. So that knocks out the local companies completely. They can't compete. They have to shut down, and that creates a monopoly of these companies that don't even care about the product, don't even care about customer service. And now, if the other companies are gone, that's all you got. I mean, theoretically, if they wanted, they could raise the price at that point. That's the danger of monopoly. But the other danger is these monopoly products, they are just trying to make a quick buck. They may decide they're done, the game is up, and then we have nothing. So, what can we do with that? Well, option number one is we can do nothing, which is what a lot of people do, including sometimes myself. We're on budgets. We want to pick and choose how we're going to spend our money. I do try to shop local, but not always. I do enjoy the convenience of Amazon. So we can do nothing, or we can decide to occasionally make a decision to go local. Like for example, I buy our pet food products locally from a local store. Partly just because I really care about my pet's health. I know how expensive pet health can be if you don't take care of them properly, and I really trust this place. So you could go through stores, especially if there's a particular product that you want to focus in on. If you're deciding to purchase through Amazon, which I will continue to do, there are ways that you can kind of filter out which companies might be overseas and might be playing the gambling game. The main one that I got out of him, I'm like, well, what can we do? What can we do? How can we figure it out? You can't directly figure out through Amazon who's overseas and who's local, but you can look at the hints. And the main hint is the reviews. This is something that completely opened my eyes when he was talking about this. Reviews are not always truthful. Maybe this is no surprise to you. It's certainly a surprise to me. And it goes both ways. You have bought reviews that are 5 stars, trying to make a company rise up in the rankings so that you'll be more likely to trust and buy the product. And you have really low reviews by companies seeking to undercut their competition. So what do you do as a consumer? It's kind of hard to tell. You may look for certain patterns, though, if there are a lot of 5-star reviews, but some of the negative reviews are talking about bad customer service, low quality of the product. Just check into it a little bit more. You may also be able to find the company name and search them out and where they're from. You can also look at patterns of reviews, especially if it's a new product. Because as he was explaining to me, it takes a while for companies to build up reviews. He said it may take 5 years for a company to build up like 3,000 reviews. Just the normal process of things. People are prompted to make reviews, but do they always? No, but if they're getting paid to make a review, that's a little different now, isn't it? So look at how quickly the new product got new reviews. He showed me an example of a medical product that was launched December 2017, and within 1 week had, I believe, 100-something reviews. He said that's unheard of for a brand new product in 1 week to have over 100 reviews. He said over, I think it was 2 weeks. If you have over 50 reviews, especially 5-star reviews, in 2 weeks, that's a red flag. I don't have the cheat sheet with me. But, and then it goes up from there. 1 month, I mean, if it's 1 month and you have 500, 1,000, or 2 months and there's 3,000 reviews, if there's a huge number of 5-star reviews for a brand new product, that should be a red flag. That means the company is promoting their product quickly to make a quick sell. So watch for that. And this is probably going to be an ongoing discussion. I'll probably be talking about this again at some other point, but just as a wrap up here, just think about, I encourage you to think about, obviously we all have free will, why you're consuming what you're consuming. Are you making a short-term decision with what you're consuming or a long-term decision? And just be okay with it. Know what your reasons are. And if you're going for the long term as far as what's ultimately going to help either the economy or yourself in the long run, if you're looking at, in particular, Amazon and overseas companies, watch for funky looking review patterns. That's the main one. All right. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any thoughts, any experiences with Amazon in particular, but anything as far as the changes due to globalization, I would love to hear about it, especially from those of you who have more of the economical vocabulary that I'm missing here. I'd really like to get this conversation out there because we are very trusting, as at least as a nation here in the United States, which can be a blessing. It helps us function as a nation. It helps us build character, helps us stay moral, but it's also something that others who do not have the same morality can take advantage of. So it's good to be aware. It's good to have our eyes open. So please share about any of your experiences, anything that I've shared today that has made you want to look into more, anything of that nature. And I will see you again. Plan is Friday around 1 p.m. Have a wonderful day and much love and many blessings to you all. Bye now.